Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good
morning.
I come to you today to read from Panel 8, Government. Our local black community played a role in the town's government from the beginning. On December 3rd, 1887, 34 registered voters, all men, met at Hector's upstairs pool hall and voted to incorporate the town, establish a municipal government, and rename the town Punta Gorda. The voters included 4 black settlers: Sam Kenedy, O.B. Armstrong, E.C. Jackson, and Elihu Justice. 2 short years later, in 1889, Robert Meacham, a prominent black Florida legislator and preacher, was appointed to Punta Gorda's postmaster. Back then, the postmaster position in a town was a political appointment from the federal government and a position of trust. Postmasters handled money, and other federal agencies counted on them for honest opinions, so this appointment was significant for the black community. Local white citizens were furious at the news of the appointment and held an indignation meeting. Despite the animosity to his presence, Meacham remained in Punta Gorda for 2 years. By the time of his departure, he had earned and turned the community's anger into respect. It wasn't until 76 years later that someone from the black community ran for Punta Gorda City Council. Abraham Coleman ran for election for Group 1, now known as District 1, in 1968. He ran a strong race, but unfortunately lost. The city would not have its first black council member until 2000, when John Murphy took over as the District 5 representative when Bill Richards passed away. The following February, John was officially elected to the position. Robert Meacham is featured in this panel because of his prominence of his assignment as Punta Gorda's postmaster in 1889 and the contributions he made during his time in Florida government. Born in 1835 in Gadsden County, Florida, Robert Meacham was the son of his white master and slave mother. Even though he was born into slavery, his father cared for him and was determined to provide him with an education. The local all-white school refused to teach him, so he learned to read and write without them. This early experience taught him the importance of education being available to all, and as a young adult, while working as a house servant in Tallahassee, he secretly shared his education with other slaves at night by candlelight. By the end of the Civil War, it was said that Meacham was able to buy freedom for himself, and his mother, and had started preaching to his fellow bondsmen. He was admitted to the African Methodist Episcopal AME Church Conference for ordination in 1866 and appointed to the church at Monticello, east of Tallahassee. He wants to have us with my paper, okay. With the passage of the Reconstruction Acts in 1867 and 1868, Reverend Meacham was enlisted by the state's National Republican Party as the delegate from Jefferson County and was elected to the Florida Constitutional Convention in November of 1867. He pushed for a uniform system of free public education. Following this, Meacham ran for state senate and won in a landslide. The Constitution that he had helped to shape was also voted in. He became chairman of the Senate Committee on Education, With his guidance, Senate Bill 14 passed both houses, and Florida's public education system was born. He stayed in the Florida Senate for 10 years. In 1887, he was sent by the AME Conference to work with the churches in southern Florida, serving first as a clergyman for the Zion AME Church in Key West. In 1888, he came to Punta Gorda and assisted with the formal organization of the Bethel AME Church. So that little white church at the corner of Olympia Avenue and Wood Street, that is Bethel AME Church, and which is a direct result of the hard efforts and work of Daniel C. Smith and Robert Meacham. Later that year, he moved to Fort Myers to become the minister for the AME Church there. In 1889, he returned to Punta Gorda to assume the role of postmaster, which he held until 1892. He died in 1902 at the age of 67. He was remembered by the AME Church as being one of the first ordained to the ministry, famous in his day for building houses of worship. He is also remembered as a former slave who, with little education, helped shape the state's constitution and public education system. Panel 8 captures Robert Meacham and the first railroad depot at the Y in the tracks, which served as the post office during his postmaster tenure. Thank you.